Hey there guys, so short video on the pros and cons of red meat. For me, there's only one main con when it comes to red meat, and that's the price. Can be a little bit pricey depending where you live. Now, life's starting to pick up, things are starting to fall back into place, can afford quality red meat again. The pros for me, I find, well, apart from the nutritional aspect, my energy levels increase greatly. So it has a lot to do with me with the B vitamins in it. To an extent, the iron, the amount of saturated fat, I'm not too worried about because it just helps with testosterone production, which is going to lead to increased muscle mass, increased lifts, more strength, all those positive things. Depending on the individual, you might go for leaner cuts of meat. Me, when it comes to red meat, my favorite is lamb, and that's just because I enjoy the taste. It has a little bit more fat than obviously other cuts of meat. You can go with, certain cuts of beef that are a lot leaner. Blade and chuck are two, cuts of meat that are really quite lean. So when we use those, we put them in a casserole, and that's another great way of having them. But for me, red meat, really does help me progress. I also find I recover really well. And as I said, I get a noticeable boost in terms of energy throughout the day. And for me, with two kids, I got one who's 7 months old and the other one who's 5. And I'm doing night shift as well. I really need all the energy that I can get. So, now that, life is looking up again slightly, which is great. Definitely going to be spending a little bit more on red meat. Other health, benefits for me, if I eat a meal that has a lot of, saturated fat in it, I stay full for a longer period of time. The longer I stay full, the less likely I am to go and sabotage my diet by eating junk. I don't get the big crashes in energy levels either, and there's two reasons for that. One, meat is really quite low GI, has no carbs in it really. So from that standpoint, it's very low GI, great for insulin management, and all those sort of things. The other big thing, for me in that regard is if I'm sleeping better and recovering better, I just don't feel as drained throughout the day. So I just literally have more energy as well. And eating, a big meal before bed, especially if it's heavily protein based in the form of red meat. Because again, my insulin levels haven't spiked, so I don't have a whole lot of sugar running through the system. It means for me, sleeping, I can get to sleep really quick. I'm not, battling sugar and caffeine while I'm trying to get sleep in. So the actual quality of my sleep then improves as well. Typically, with red meat, I'm going to throw in some veggies, whether it be in the steamer. That's typically how I, have my veggies when I'm having red meat. When I'm meal prepping, like in a proper competition, the one of the big staples for me, earlier in the day was the liter of high protein milk, the 3 bananas and 4 muesli bars, and that for me was 1,500 calories done. And in the evening, I'll have my red meat, I'll have a decent portion of it. I'll put in 500 grams, which is just one pack of the frozen veggies, one of the mixed ones. And then, have the steak and the steamed veggies. I'll also throw in 2 potatoes and half a sweet potato, and I'll knock it all off with some sour cream as well. So really meat, veggies and sour cream. I'm covering all my nutritional bases just with the meat and the veggies alone. The high protein milk, that's just there for additional protein. In terms of grams of protein, with red meat, it will vary. It's not as high as chicken, but it's still, very significant. But the nutritional profile of meat is just far superior to that of chicken. So yeah, I just, definitely a big fan with red meat. And that's my personal take on it. Other people, they may not be as fortunate, or it may not react as well for them. But for me, it's one of the foods that I've found has been key to my development of, strength and muscle mass. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe, and have a great day wherever you are.